Have you ever sat down at your desk, but you just feel like you don't have the energy to do the work you're supposed to do? You've maybe carved out that 1 hour in the morning and set aside that time for you to get your stuff done. But when you sit down, you feel like you just don't have energy. Recently, I read an article on Harvard Business Review talking about why we should stop managing our time and instead manage our energy. The idea is that time is finite, but energy is a renewable resource, and we can increase or renew this source of energy by 4 sources. We have body, emotions, mind, and spirit. So before I dive into these 4 categories of our sources of energy, first do a quick energy audit with me. Let's figure out which of these 4 sources of energy that we might be lacking a bit more. Ask yourself these questions. Do you take regular breaks to recharge? Do you show appreciation for other people? Do you have difficulty focusing on one thing at a time? And finally, do you spend time and energy on things that give you a sense of meaning and purpose? By creating routines, behaviors, or just changing the way we think, we can renew our energy among these 4 sources. And when we feel more energized, we can be more productive during the day and get more stuff done. The first source of energy comes from our body. This is physical energy. And there's the basic nutrition, sleep, exercise, and I can attest to the value of all these things. For example, working on a full stomach is no bueno for my productivity. I find that if I've just finished eating a large meal, I just can't concentrate and sit down. If I've eaten a lot of simple white carbs, that also just gives me brain fog. So having a balanced meal or like a small snack that's not too heavy right before your work can help you become more energized and productive. The same goes for exercise. On the days where I exercise first thing in the morning, like today, I just feel great, partly because of the endorphins are released when I exercise, but also because I've been productive the very first thing in the morning. And it feels easier to just keep the ball rolling and stay productive throughout the day. And finally, there's sleep. And I think this is the most important of the 3 among exercise, nutrition, and sleep. If I get a solid 7 or 8 hours the night before, then I feel good the next day to do what I need to do. But if I decide to stay up late until 2 a.m. catching up on a Chinese drama, I basically feel like a walking zombie the very next day. Staying up late for an extra 3 hours just isn't worth ruining 12 hours of my next day. So for you, maybe you could try paying attention to how much sleep you get and how that impacts your energy levels for the next day. But besides sleep, exercise, and nutrition, the article also mentions ultradian rhythms, and this is really interesting. Ultradian rhythms are basically 90 to 120 minute intervals where we go from a high energy state to a lower energy state. And maybe ask yourself this question. Do you often feel restless or slightly anxious, agitated after sitting down for a very long time? We often push through these feelings of restlessness, but actually taking short, deliberate, but regular breaks can help us recharge and actually get more stuff done in comparison to just trying to sheer willpower power our way through. The key is to take a physical and mental break. Maybe take a step away from your desk, go outside and take a quick walk. For me, what I like to do is if I'm tired of studying and I feel like that restlessness is creeping up on me, what I'll do is I'll go outside in the living room and I'll just walk around and I'll hop on a Discord call with my friends. And it's just a nice way to switch away from memorizing all the cranial nerves and the foramen that they exit the skull in. It's a nice break for me to recharge, and after taking a short break and talking to my friends, I can switch back to working and I feel a lot more refreshed. Sometimes it can just be switching off your computer and zoning out. Let your rational left brain take a break and let the creative right brain run wild. The second source of our energy comes from our emotions, and this impacts the quality of our energy. We all tend to be the most productive when we're in a good mood, and likewise, when we're in a bad mood, this tends to drain our energy and our productivity just drops. But it's hard to constantly feel this positive energy because sometimes life just sucks. We can, however, regulate our emotions in order to improve our energy when we're trying to focus and get stuff done. And there are two main techniques that I find to be really helpful for me. First is deep breathing, and second is changing the story. So let's talk about deep breathing first. Oftentimes, when I'm feeling agitated or anxious, I just take a deep breath in and I hold it and then I breathe back out. And I do this for a couple of times and it really helps calm me down. Physiologically, taking deep breaths actually dampens our sympathetic nervous system and slows down our heart rate. And our sympathetic system is in charge of the fight or flight response. This is the reason and the culprit behind our feelings of anxiety and our restlessness. So by taking deep breaths and slowing down that part of our nervous system, we can help calm ourselves down when we're feeling down or under the weather. The second technique is changing the story. And this is changing the story we tell ourselves about what's happening to us. We often tend to victimize ourselves and we blame other people or external environments for what's happening. But instead of doing this, be conscious about what's objectively happening and separate that from how we subjectively feel. Ask yourself this: how can I grow and learn from what's happening right now, regardless of the outcome? Look at the bright side of the situation and you'll feel less resentment to what's currently happening to you. Like, yes, washing the dishes after eating dinner might feel like a waste of time, especially when I'm trying to study for a big exam. But it's also a way for me to show appreciation and to show my mom that I love her and that I appreciate her for cooking this meal for me and I want her to take a break. So I will volunteer to wash the dishes. Alternatively, you can also ask yourself this question: how would I feel about this in 6 months' time? This is taking a longer and wider lens at looking at your current situation. When we ask ourselves this question, we often realize that so many things that we worry about really aren't that big of a deal, and they aren't that high stakes. At the same time, asking ourselves these questions help us pick out the potential regrets that we might have by not starting to do something today. This question helps us differentiate between what matters and what's just trivial. The third source of energy comes from our mind, and this impacts the focus of our energy. This is all about creating rituals or practices that protects us our work hours from distractions. Checking your phone every time you get an email or a notification is just dragging your attention away from what's actually important, getting your work done. This creates a problem of attention residue, which occurs when we're interrupted during a task or we leave something unfinished. Say I'm studying by doing Anki cards right now, but I get a notification on WhatsApp, and my eyes flick over to that, and then I try to go back to concentrating on doing Anki. But part of my brain's attention has latched on to that notification on my phone, and that's attention residue that I'm losing, and that's attention that I'm not focusing on the task at hand. So the way that we can protect focus of our energy and our mind comes in two levels. There's a microscopic level and a macroscopic level. So the microscopic level I view as focusing on protecting our work environment. This means having a clean desk space and maybe chucking your phone on your bed so that you don't get distracted by notifications. On my Mac, what I would do is I will quit email, Discord, and WhatsApp so that I don't get little badges of notifications whenever someone's messaging me or whenever I get an email. Likewise, what I find to also be really helpful is maximizing my screen on my workspace. If I maximize the Word document or if I maximize the Anki application, that fills up the entire screen of my computer and I don't get distracted by something that might be opened up in the background. One thing that I also find helpful is having a sticky or a notebook, or maybe it's a note open on my computer for jotting down random ideas that come to mind, but I capture it, but I don't necessarily focus on it. So say I'm typing on a Word document and suddenly I have an idea for YouTube. So I will write down that idea on a sticky, but I'll immediately go back to focusing on what I'm working on. That way I've made sure that I captured the idea and my mind isn't still thinking about that. And I have it down, but I'm still focusing on what I'm currently doing. On a macroscopic level, this is having a daily highlight. Oftentimes we get distracted from what really matters by urgent but not necessarily important tasks. So I would recommend that every night, write down a daily highlight that you want to get done for the next day. This is one thing that is likely important but not necessarily urgent, but this will move the needle towards the direction that you want to go in. Try to get that one daily highlight done every day. Maybe block out time in the morning for you to do that. And if you want to learn more about the idea of daily highlights, check out the book Make Time. It's a great book about productivity tips and tricks, and I highly recommend. Finally, the fourth source of energy is spirit, and this gives us the energy of purpose. We can be energized when we're doing something that gives us a sense of purpose and meaning in life. And there are 3 categories that the article breaks down. First is doing what you do best and what you also enjoy doing. Now, this might not be mutually inclusive, but look at what you really enjoy doing. Think about the last time that you were effortlessly absorbed into doing a task. It felt like you were in a flow state, and it didn't feel like hard work. This is something that you should do more of because this will energize you. For instance, for me, I find that even though I'm not very good at making YouTube videos, when I come up with an idea and I'm planning out a video, the process of planning and making and editing the video, this entire process feels very effortless. I can be completely absorbed into doing this task, and in a sense, it does give me energy because it gives me a kind of creative outlet for me to focus on when I want to take a break from studying. The second category is spending energy and time on the areas of life that we actually value. If you value friendships, proactively schedule a time to eat lunch with your friends. If you value your health, maybe block out a time every morning for exercising. If you value family time, maybe be actually present during dinner time instead of mindlessly scrolling through Instagram or YouTube during meals. Think about what aspect of your life that you value and intentionally give that area your time and undivided attention. The last category of spiritual energy is living in line with your values. This is about figuring out what you value and creating rituals or practices that protect or enforces these values. Now, if I were to ask you what are your values, maybe you have a lot, and I'm not going to tell you to do one of those exercises where you go down that huge list of values and you try to narrow it down to your top 3. Instead, the article suggests one question that you can ask yourself. What qualities do you find are off-putting when you see them in other people? The opposite of these off-putting qualities will reflect what your values are. So say you find rudeness to be off-putting, then maybe something that you value a lot is being considerate. Then look for ways that you can enforce and be considerate during your daily lives. I think this last category of energy is a lot about finding happiness and just satisfaction in what you're currently doing. This is being satisfied with what you do and how you do it, and in turn, that sense of satisfaction can help fuel and recharge your energy in other areas of your life. In sum, there are 4 main sources of energy: physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy, and spiritual energy. Having good energy management skills is like having good time management skills. It helps you get more stuff done during the day and be more productive. If you found this video helpful, check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!